Hey, just a little break between recording. I just wanted to get on to you about the It's Time to Refresh free birthday event that we're running. But basically, I've put on a free party and it's got its unbelievable lineup. I've dropped the flyer right now. We've got from A to Z, if I can remember rightly, it's Andy Kelly. Then we've got myself. We've also got General Bounce. And last but not least, we've got John G. Really looking forward to this lineup. Like, it's all for free, and that's at Club 135 Whitehaven, and it's on Saturday the 25th of March. It's time to refresh. First birthday. Get on it. You know it makes sense.
This is the It's Time to Refresh podcast with Brad Riffresh, the podcast about life, music, traveling, shit, literal shit that is, and weird and wacky stories with Brad, and a range of guests from the planet Earth. Feel free to share the pod with your pals, your mom, your neighbor's dog, or even your shrink. It's all fun. You can follow our Facebook group called It's Time to Refresh Community, or It's Time to Refresh on Instagram. Write into the pod, ask questions, and share your stories. Enjoy the pod.
Hey kid, what time is that?
It's time to refresh.
Talking, giving me the dry mouth. This episode will be sponsored by Monster. Back once again with another podcast. This is episode 47 of the It's Time to Refresh podcast. On this episode, we've got legendary DJ Chris Ectic.
Oh, you right?
How are you doing, mate? All right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad at all.
We've travelled down to surrounding areas of Manchester, just in case you don't want your location out there, today to record this podcast. I messaged Chris a while back saying I think it would be good to come on and sort of tell you a story. You've never really documented it at all, have you, really?
Not really, no.
So I thought, do you know something, this would be a sort of good opportunity to do it. So what did you have for tea last night?
I had salad. It sounds like boringness. I had salad and I had jacket potatoes with cheese on it. That's a basic.
You thought about that, haven't you, when you messaged me last night? You knew I was going to ask.
I nearly had a way better tea just so I could say it on air today, you know what I mean?
Yeah, excellent, mate. So how are you doing? How is life at the minute for you as a DJ and that?
Yeah, really good,
It's
you know. Yeah, I've just been busy, you know.
You can tell the camera if you want. What about what you were doing last night?
I was doing last night?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I was recording a promo video for an event I'm doing pretty soon. But messing it up a lot.
Yeah.
It took about 3.5 hours and several thousand takes probably, but I got there in the end.
Yeah, so basically you're going to play in Germany.
Yeah.
Where's it at, sorry?
It's a place called the Boot House in Cologne.
Right.
And that's it's the DJ Mag Top 100 clubs. It's number 5 at the moment.
Excellent.
Pretty good.
So it's a big achievement and a big it's a big thing for you as well.
Yeah.
So basically, I've reassured him before we started recording because if you look at the really dodgy adverts that we've got in between this, where I'm advertising the Patreon, it's a 30-second clip and it took me 2 hours 45 minutes to record 30 seconds worth of material, and even then I had to chop it up because it's just I hate speaking into a camera on my own, and that's how it is for you. So reassured, you're probably not alone when it comes to doing them promo videos. So we'll sort of roll it right back to the beginning if you want. Who's Chris? Where did it all start for you?
Started a long time ago, mate. I first got into like the whole rave scene when I was probably about 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Listening to The Prodigy. It would have been 92, 93.
Yeah.
A friend of mine got an Amiga computer.
Right.
He lived next door to me. He was disabled as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, I think one day we managed to get this this computer magazine, and it has some free audio production software on it.
Right.
So I put that in, and then from that moment it was just hooked on trying to remix stuff, you know.
Interesting. That's a bit different to what I was expecting, to be honest. I thought the DJ aspect came first.
No, I started trying to produce when I was 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I think when I was 16, I managed to get a load of this first set of decks.
Yeah.
And the horrible things, like the old disco decks.
Yeah.
The pit slide was about 1.5 inches long. The belt drive and that. So yeah, just got hold of them. Went to the local record shop. It was like a rock record shop. So the only thing we could manage to get was a load of jungle, like Shy Effects, that sort of thing. DJSS. So I grabbed a load of that as much as we could. Brought it home. Just started trying to mix. I think I bust my first proper mix about 12 months after that.
I think jungle, because obviously we're used to the 4/4 beat. I think it's quite confusing. Obviously, if you just learn at the time, it might not be that confusing because if you're learning that style.
Yeah.
But it can be quite confusing to mix. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a different sort of pattern and stuff.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the production and stuff like that. What was the software? Just out of curiosity.
It's called Octamed. Octamed. It was like they call it tracking software.
Yeah.
You literally had 4 little channels, so you couldn't just get samples them days. So we had to the way I started getting rave stabs was I used to listen to Stu Allen and record it on tape every Saturday night, and then what I'd do is we'd go back through it the next day and isolate little stabs off all the hardcore tracks, and then put them, use them as our instruments.
So you weren't even pulling from the source of the vinyl; you were pulling from the recording.
From tape over the radio, mate.
Yeah, it was probably pitched, and then there was probably tape distortion and everything.
Yeah, we had to sort all that out. It was a nightmare.
Amazing.
So we started.
So between 12 and 16, before you got the DJ and stuff like that, what was going on? What was were you just trying to remix tracks, or were you writing originals, or what was
it? Was all about. We started sort of trying to remix a lot of stuff. I think "Set You Free" was the first track I ever really got my head down and tried to remix.
Yeah.
But we used to listen to a lot of the older trance stuff back then as well, like Carl Cox, the React albums and stuff like that. So me and my friend would sit there and just listen to it, and then just you get the basic sort of synths and try and just recreate that sort of sound, So we're doing a lot of trance back then, trying to produce our own stuff. Again, we were only young, so learning sort of just. So I don't know. We weren't even learning from any sources, so we're doing it ourselves.
So learning on the fly.
Yeah, and then obviously listening in school, and you learn about music theory a bit more. So you'd take that and just use what you learned there and incorporate into trance music or rave stuff,
So when you started, for instance, you were sampling a sound.
Yeah.
When you were you writing stuff in key to begin with, or?
Oh, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't even tell you. We felt like it was in key at the time, but I bet if I listen back now,
have you still got the recordings?
A lot of them have gone missing, sadly.
Yeah.
They're all on tape and stuff. So.
Yeah, but you probably sounded in key, or it sounded like it was right, but probably right.
It sounded like a mid-2000s Don Cover.
So from there, what was the first tune where you thought, some of this is actually, we're onto something, sort of?
The first proper one would have been Right the Way Up in God. Well, I was really happy with my production. Would have been probably early 2000s.
Right.
Right the way up there, because we had a little bit of a break. The DJing took off. In the late 90s, I was doing like I said, took off. I was making a name for myself in the local scene. Doing local bars. Managed to get a few festivals.
Right.
So
what was your first gig then? What was your
first gig?
Your first club experience?
Club experience would have been that would have been Legends in Warrington.
Right.
First proper club experience. I was with me, Pete Monsoon, Absolute, and was it Domino.
Nice lineup.
Yeah, I know. And then little old me. I was so I was amazed by that. It was good. We used to do that quite often.
What was the year was that then?
That'd have been 2000. 2000.
Right, yeah. So you can sort of imagine the tunes that you were all playing at that point as well.
Yeah, it was a mixture. A lot of trance, throwing our own acapellas over it.
Yeah.
Hard house sort of thing as well, Well, that was mainly me dropping the hard house in. They pulled the face when I did that.
Yeah. So you were sort of around for before bounce was necessarily bounce, so to say. When it was, you were taking bits from hard house, taking bits from trance, taking bits from the Eurodance stuff.
Yeah.
And it was morphing into what we know as bounce today. Do you know what I mean? So did you see that it was going to go into that direction, or was it just find good records? I
think it was a natural progression, because the northern scene was a bit more, I feel like they were a bit more up for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there was back then, at least, there was very much you could experiment behind the decks a lot more, and they'd go on that journey with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I feel like it was just for me personally. I'd go record shopping, and it would just be a case of a good record would be a good record.
Yeah.
You know, so if it was like even if it was Euro trance, like milking that sort of thing. You know what I mean? If it was more that style, if it was more like your like perfecto. You know, it didn't really matter as long as it was more. You know, you feel that tune would get that dance floor rocking.
Yeah.
You know, and then also a lot of it, like I started really thinking I was getting as many a cappella records as I could. You know what I mean? Because I was really thinking about what you could
do with them,
like live bootlegs and all that sort of thing. You know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's interesting. It's an interesting take because like you see how our scene was formed, and he's just literally pulling things from everywhere, putting it and gluing it all together. That's essentially what it is. It's just we're just like, do you know what I mean? Like we're all stitched together to make this perfect thing in our eyes. But I think if you pulled say like a Euro dance tune, like you were saying, like say Milk Inc or something like that, you know, oh well, that would work sort of early on, or it's early to, and then you've got your big banging hard house tunes, but it's a bit bouncier. You're like, oh, I can stick that on sort of later, and that's progressed into what we call sort of bounce, and that today, which I think's interesting. Yeah. So for you, in sort of 99, 2000, what were you doing? Were you playing the harder stuff? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Well, so between say the 95s and like the 2000s, like. As a DJ, it's hard enough to get your name around anyway, you know what I mean? And for me personally, I was trying to get a lot of local venues, I was trying to get work there, but no one would believe I was a DJ at all. Like, tried those. So I had to like sort of figure out a way to get my name known beforehand. Right. So I started, there used to be a pirate radio station, 99.7, Love Energy, it was called.
Right. Can't say I've heard of that.
Yeah, well, it was a big Manchester thing. Right. But basically what we did was that days ended up they were going off. We managed to get hold of the transmitter. Right. So we did 99.7 Energy FM, which was I was playing a lot for UK hardcore back then. Right. I was mad into my hardcore. I used to go spinning every weekend. Spent all my money on there. Yeah. But so basically we put this like radio station together for like normal people who'd sort of find an abandoned place, you know, out of the way. Yeah. Me and my mates decided it was a good idea to do it in my bedroom down there, you know, and we put an aerial up, and but literally we did every weekend then, you know, got a burner for mobile phone, and then just did every weekend, sort of like trying to get like my name, Ectic, you know, out there and sort of thing, you know. That was pretty much what we did then.
Where did the name come from?
Ectic.
It's a cool name, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. Basically, a friend of mine, he used to do a lot of graffiti, and he'd stopped doing that.
It's not him doing this by any chance.
No, it's not. But he used to use, like, I was trying to think of a name for ages, like a long time. I used to have another name, but I'm not even mentioning it.
Go on, give us an exclusive. Go on.
Nah.
Is it bad on a scale of 1 to 10? What?
It's cringe, mate. DJ Sensation.
Well, yeah, I've heard worse. I've heard worse.
So yeah, I had that name and I hated it, but you know, I just didn't know what to call myself. Yeah. And he was doing his tag, and it was Ectic. You know, he used to do it in like this like smartest sort of font. And one day I was looking at it, I thought, that'd make a sick DJ name. So I said to him, I said, look, do you mind, you know, and by this point I've been DJing for quite a few years, he likes what we're doing. So I asked him, I said, would you mind if, you know, if I had that for my DJ name? And he said it'd be an honour, so yeah.
Excellent.
That was the name, Ectic.
I love it. Class, mate. That it's proper, I don't know, it's a nice little warm feeling on that one, I think. So going forward then, you got your first gigs and stuff like that. What was the next step for you when you've done the radio station and you've gotten your name around? Who gave you your first sort of break?
Well, my first big break was Gary Hypnotic.
Right.
Basically, by this point I've been doing local clubs, and I managed to secure a few local festivals, which were a real big thing for me back then. You know, there was a good few thousand people there. And,
is there anything in particular that anyone would know?
There were like, I don't know, there were like Springfield's 2000 and all this. Like there was, like I said, there was locals here, like, you know, Rochdale, Manchester area. like Haywood Millen and all that.
Right.
So there was, like I said, around here a lot of people know what they were, but it's nothing. You know.
Yeah.
But one of them, a friend of mine were promoting, and I was DJing, and Gary Hypnotic was DJing there.
Right.
Now by this point, I had loads of Maxim's tape packs. You know,
Yeah.
I was a massive fan of the whole, but like that, you know, that side of the scene. You know, and,
Yeah.
you know, I've been doing stuff with like Absolute, Monsoon, and all that lot.
So am I right in thinking at this point in time that was it Zone at Maxim's at this
It was
point?
both. No, there was National Anthems all night.
Yeah.
There were Maxim's back to the old school.
So this is like 2000, yeah.
This
Right.
yeah, it was 2000. Was it 2000? Yeah, 2000. I think 2001. God knows. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, basically Gary DJs on his set.
Yeah.
So I come on and I do my set. Like I'm thinking I've got to impress here, so I'm pulling out every trick I can, you know, out of the box sort of thing, just doing what I can. And then after my set, like Hypnotic comes out, gets on the mic, says like, you know, basically he's amazed about what he's seen and everything about me.
Yeah.
And then he drops at the end of it, no doubt you'll see this guy at Maxim's pretty soon. I'm like,
Excellent.
what? So obviously he asked me if I want to play there.
Yeah.
I said yeah, and then that was my first my first proper platform.
So this is 2001.
Yeah, 2001.
I'm just going to ask you something daft, and you might not know the answer to it. So you've went there. You've obviously had the packs and everything, and you can sort of visualize what it's like in your head. When you've got there and you've played your set, can you remember the first tune you played?
Crap. Light Force, join me. Yeah, Light Force, join me. I think it was, yeah.
And were you nervous for this? Because obviously it's a big thing considering.
Yeah, I mean, I was young. Well, I was like 20, early 20s. I was 22 back then.
Yeah.
You know, so and this was in my eyes, it was the biggest break I could ever get as a DJ.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was nervous. I listened to tape packs and stuff, but when I turned up, I brought 2 record boxes, mainly for the more leading towards the harder house sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So like I got on the decks, I was kind of thinking at the time, these tunes are going to be too hard for the crowd.
Yeah.
This DJ before me played quite a cheesy set. You know?
Like vocally.
Yeah. So I was absolutely bricking it at the time, mate. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it went well.
So what type of tunes were you playing for that set? Like if you had to sort of give a rough sort of.
Again, so I played some of the harder stuff later on, like some nuclear sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But earlier on in the set, I played more trance.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think that was the first time I dropped Darude Sandstorm.
Yeah.
And I did Forgot About Dre.
Yeah.
I did that live or a cappella over the top of it. Place blew up. So at that point, I think
buzzing,
yeah. Well, I think I went like the 3rd record in.
Yeah.
So then it was like I just got behind the whole set.
Yeah.
You know, just started smashing it. Like adrenaline was pumping. You know?
Yeah. When you're into something, like that. Yeah. It's quite a legendary thing that now, isn't it? You see on TikTok people doing the sandstorm.
Well, I was the first one to do that. So, you know, it's just putting that out
Yeah.
there.
So honestly, I seen it on TikTok and I was like, mate, the bounce they were doing like 2001. Yeah, I've seen that mashup a couple of times where the DJs are thinking that they're sort of doing something brand new.
Yeah. I've held me back from commenting. I'll leave it. I look better.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you've sort of off the back of that though, were you getting a lot of people within it? Because obviously within the scene, that was a big hub for our music. Were you getting people sort of reaching out to you or like that?
Yeah, definitely. So I noticed bookings improved massively after especially about a year of being there.
Yeah.
It sort of that's where my career really. You know, I felt like I could call myself a professional DJ from that moment on. You know.
So what had happened? Did you go down there for a trial?
Yeah, well, I think it just had to invite me to go on DJ. I didn't think there was anything coming about from it. I thought it was probably going to be a one-off, you know.
Yeah.
And not, I'd only held local residencies, you know, at that point, and I never dreamt Maxim's would sort of want me as a resident anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I did my set, and then spoke to Gary later on about it. He asked me about what did I think of my set. I said I was pretty happy with it. And then he invited me. He said, "Do you do like old school?" So I said, yeah, and then he invited me back to the old school one in 2 weeks. So I'm like, okay.
Back again so soon, yeah.
Yeah, I did that, and then from that moment on, pretty much, it's like,
and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, residency.
Excellent, mate. What an achievement at such such an early age as well. Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
So what was it? 22? Did you say?
That's right too.
Excellent, mate. That's fantastic. So you're with Maxim's for how long? Because was it
Like 10 years, mate.
10 years?
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, so because I remember the sort of, I obviously wasn't around then, but I remember the back end, and I think seeing you maybe once or twice then.
Yeah.
And it was you were Ectic from Maxim's, like that was your thing, wasn't it? Like it was, well, that's what I knew you as, at least, anyways. So how was that then? Because obviously in Wigan you had Maxim's Pier.
Yeah.
What was that the crowds like? Was it two separate crowds? Did you find? Or?
See, I feel like people sometimes think that there were two full separate crowds, and there are quite a few people who only went to one or the other.
Yeah, there was crossover massively.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because like even me, I used to. There's plenty of times where I do be set at Maxim's. To be fair, like because Maxim's, it was a bigger capacity, place. But I'd finish my set. Places like say sweat dripping off the roof, you know what I mean? It's an absolutely rammed hotel in there.
Yeah.
As soon as I got off the decks, I've got people flying over me, Ectic, you know what I mean? You just want to relax for a minute. So there were a lot of times where I would actually dive out of the club, get in my mate's car, fly over to Pier, then go and hide in a Pier DJ box. I'd be sat in the Pier DJ box just chilling out, chatting to the lads there. Yeah. So, and I'd see a lot of the same people anyway, in both venues.
What about, for instance, the music policy? What did you find there was a slight difference, or were they playing the same tunes, or in your opinion, I mean?
Very similar. Very similar. The main difference is Maxim's and MCs.
Yeah.
I think I couldn't really. I mean, we all played pretty much the same sort of tracks,
Yeah.
Because there weren't that much
exclusive.
There weren't that much music, to play to fill a full night of music.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, there's only so many records being produced in the bouncy, especially then on vinyl.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Is it interesting? So from sort of 2001 onwards, then you've got the Maxim's thing. Was there other little side bits going on, or what else was it? Obviously, that was your main sort of focus.
Yeah, I did. Back then, I did all over the UK as well.
Yeah.
I did. There was a lot of rave nights. I did Illusion.
Yeah. Where was that? Sorry.
That was I did a few Milton Keynes
right.
over there. I did a few drum and bass nights in different places as well.
What was the crowds like there in comparison?
They were good. Yeah, I did Sheffield, the Archers. That was pretty crazy. Did a drum and bass night there. Must admit, guy coming up, little white guy jumping up behind the decks in a wheelchair. Yeah. I got some funny looks from that crowd at first, but that was a pretty crazy night.
What's the scenes like between it then? So you've got you're seeing bounce is quite high energy and stuff like that. I have been to drum and bass and jungle nights, and I've been to festivals where there's drum and bass jungle, and it seems like they're a completely different. It's a different vibe altogether. Yeah,
I mean, back then it was, I don't know, it felt pretty high energy, but like you say, it is more. It has its lulls and chills.
Yeah.
Where some tunes will be high energy, but then a few of them they'll more relaxed. Where I feel the bounce events, it's just full on. Doors open. Yeah. Everyone's at it until the sun comes up, and then they're off, aren't they? You know what I mean?
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you were doing the sort of drum and bass stuff. When did the sort of house thing come along for you then?
2010.
Oh, was it that late on? Was it?
Yeah. Well, I would produce in house sort of in the studio.
Yeah.
Just doing nothing with it.
Yeah.
And
sort of sitting on it, sort of thing.
Yeah, totally. And Maxim's and Pier, that in around the 2010 mark, it just fell off a cliff, didn't it?
Yeah.
Maxim's started having hardly anyone through the door.
Yeah.
Pier was the same because obviously the sound restrictions didn't help them.
Yeah.
With that's totally changed their sound system in there. It was a lot quieter. And I think the whole club sort of bounced. That sort of thing fell off anyway at that point.
Yeah, there was obviously the recession and that as well. And stuff like that. So what was the general vibe like at that point in Maxim's and Pier? What was the?
Well, I mean, to be fair, again, because I was working Maxim's, so I can say more there. I'd call off to Pier every now and then, but I know it just felt like I said, the recession and stuff. It was quiet, and I felt like the vibe weren't there as much. The music, I feel, around about that time in the bounce scene just seemed to I don't know whether it was me personally, but I feel like it fell off quality wise quite a bit. But
I think that personally, this is my opinion. I'm not speaking for you.
Yeah.
I think in 2009, 2010, I think the quality of the tunes weren't quite there. There was the obvious ones.
Yeah, of course.
But there wasn't. If you look back, right, to 2009, for instance, I can't think of 10 anthems from 2009.
I'm trying to think of one now.
But if you go back to say 2005 or 2002, etc., there's you could list off loads.
Yeah.
Whereas 2009, I think there was only a handful of tunes that have stood.
Also, I feel like a lot of things had happened in that point as well, so you can't really blame the producers and stuff. Like there was the whole vinyl to MP3 situation back then, where you had the people like I had me and Nelson we ran Fast Forward Records, and we had the same issue like where you're putting out tracks, obviously first a lot of them were selling, and then all of a sudden people are just ripping them. You know what I mean? So I think that has a lot to do with that whole, Do
you want to get into that a little bit, if that's all right? So we'll talk about the record label. What was when did this start, and what was the catalyst for it?
What the record label? Nelson had Bass Records. I think I was doing the production stuff, and I weren't really. I weren't seeking anywhere to release it. I was just doing stuff to play at clubs and all that.
So it was more for just your sets.
And he was like, he had ideas to do tracks, so it snowballed from there, really. We released a good few. I think we did 10 EPs or something like that.
10.
Yeah.
10 all vinyl as well. Excellent. What sort of, if you don't mind me asking, I'll cut this out if you're not thinking, but what sort of numbers were you doing on vinyl sales? What were you pressing up at least?
A few thousand. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Memory's a bit foggy back then, but a couple thousand.
Imagine trying to sell 1,000 copies of a digital track now. It just wouldn't happen.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, people like to have things in the hand. Like for me, I still collect vinyl. I still collect CDs. Yeah. Somebody was saying to me at work the other day. This is sort of off subject, but they were saying to me, they're like more indie kids. Do you know what I mean? They're young apprentices, and they said to like you're a DJ, do you have vinyl? I was like, yeah, of course I collect vinyl. It's like, we've got vinyl, we've been buying it from HMV and like second-hand stores. It's like 30 quid, 40 quid a vinyl, like some of the albums, I know. And we were there, and I was just saying to him, like, I was like, so do you collect them? What do you collect? How many have you got? Blah blah blah. And we were sort of back and forth in with conversations, and I was like, do you collect CDs and stuff? CDs? Why would I collect CDs? I was like, but vinyl's older than CD. And he's like, yeah, I know, but it's like cool, isn't it? I was like, right, okay, I'm lost. But so I mentioned, I went from that he was dead interested in like, you collect vinyl, what have you got? Da da da. And then we were sort of talking about it. As soon as I said I had CDs, I just looked like a really uncool old man. It was horrible. It was like, CDs, And then he made the comment as well. He goes, this is the one that writ off the conversation. This was the end of the conversation. He said, I was driving and my phone died the other day in the car, and I had to put the radio on. I should really buy a CD as a backup. And I was like, wow, this is what we've got to. Do you know what I mean? Sort of off subject there, but it goes to show that how quickly times have changed and stuff like that. So I've got a question. You might not be able to give me a direct answer, whatever. But when you were doing the vinyl releases, at what point were you like, right, that's it? We'll do digital. There's maybe a market there, or did you embrace the digital? Or
to be fair, it just kind of fell off. I think Nelson's. I think he was closing the record shop up at the time. It was like he had that business as well. So I think. It was just, like I say, sales started falling off rapidly. Mm-hmm. I'm like seeing, I'm obviously on a lot of the bounce scalps forums and all that. I'm seeing my tunes popping up. Literally, we're putting out white labels before we'd even done the release, and the white labels getting leaked on there. It's like, what's the point? So we kind of just like stopped it from then on, and
So were you still releasing on other labels your music and stuff?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple of releases a little while later on. Andy Whitby used to do
Awesome.
Awesome. I did that Radio, do you know the hard house version of Radio or Not?
Yeah.
I did that track.
Yeah.
I did some on Club Fillers, Defiance.
Yeah.
I did the Binary Refinery remixes on that.
Yeah.
You know, and just getting right into the harder sort of side of things at that point.
That was very much my sort of, when you were naming off them there, I was like, yeah, I know these tunes, because they very much of the time what I was into. I was massively into, say, like what say Glenn was doing.
Glenn was all, I did some stuff with Glenn as well.
Yeah.
Come down.
And Club Filler, and they were doing like a harder edge bounce. Everything was a bit more like punchier and grittier, I thought, and I was very much into that sound. So yeah, I've got a couple of your releases off there.
Nice.
I think that was a sound that sort of, you don't hear it much anymore within our scene, which is unfortunate.
I think say 2019 we started hearing a lot of that creeping as well. Seeing that more harder edge, you know, especially from the BTID lads, all that's, you know, side. I felt like that, for me it felt like it was sort of bringing a little bit of that back. You know, and I was kind of hoping that'd stay, but we're doing pop songs now, aren't we?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So 2010, we went off the subject there, but you started doing the house music. How did you find the transition?
Well, yeah, to be fair, so when I've been messing around with house music a little while anyway, so I found it quite easy with the transition, you know, because I've been doing it like, you know, on the back burner. Yeah. But I feel like at that 2010, that sort of, you know, the leads sort of like jacking house sound.
Yeah, jacking and bass line.
Like, yeah, we was like me and a couple of friends kind of got together. We started producing that sort of stuff here. Fell in love with the sound, especially that was all. A lot of those were like, obviously you had your synthy sort of stuff. But we really loved doing like the epic piano breakdowns, you know, with cool strings in the background, more organic, like real violin noises rather than synths and stuff like that. You know, and then just the big jacking bass lines on the drops.
Excellent. So, I got onto your. I didn't know. I realised that it was you. To be honest with you, when you were doing that sort of stuff, I got onto you by mistake. I think I heard a guest mix that you did for that. Remember Fresh? The Greenie was doing. I think you'd done a guest mix or a live recording or something like that, and I put it on. And I thought, ooh, this is all right. It's a shame that didn't last very long. The whole jacking thing, because I quite like that. Like there is a couple of tunes where I'm just like, this is good. But
I do. I must admit, I really love that style. I'll get in the studio every now and then, and I'll just sit there and start, you know, just like not have an idea for what you're going to do with the tune before you know it. I've made half a jacking track. I'm like, shame we couldn't really release it anywhere now. You know,
Do you not think that sort of thing's coming back though? Do you not think that, say garage, for instance? A lot of garages, if you hear in the charts, there's a lot of garage influence stuff, and the shuffle and everything's similar.
I mean, if you look at say Bad Boy Chiller Crew, if you listen to all their backing tracks, it's literally old 2014 sort of Leeds house in it, really. You know, they'll call it the Brummy sound or whatever, but you know,
So what was the first, like, because obviously it's not that you have to start all over again as such, but what was the first big tune you did as Club Killers then? What was the one where people noticed who you were?
Diamond Life, that She Six Lone in a smoke-filled cafe.
Yeah.
We did that.
That's a banger, by the way.
It's still, you know,
it's still, it hasn't aged in that time. It still sounds quite. If that got released in the charts now, it'd be like, you wouldn't question what's that doing. Like, it just feels like of now.
I've dropped it. When we did a Sunrise reunion the other month. Dropped it there and still just went off. I'm like, So that was our first real, you know, decent one on that.
Well, the first time I properly met you, this is sort of on the house thing as well. I'd went to Blackpool. I think I was just with the family or whatever. And I think I seen you down by on the front. So I want to give you a quick hello. How are you doing, mate? And that was it. We would sort of cross paths. And it was the day of the first sunrise. You done that, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was the first sunrise on the pier. It was or whatever they called it at the time. I think it was
S2S on the pier?
Yeah, S2S on the pier or something.
It might have been Pier Jam back then. I don't know.
I think Pier Jam came after it, didn't it? I thought Sunrise and Pier came first. Or...
Yeah.
But anyways, I seen you that day, and I was like, I was gonna stop to talk to you, but I think you were talking to two girls at the time. I can't remember who it was. You know, I didn't want to interrupt your flow. But yeah, and I was like, once I looked into like, because I still didn't know at this point that this was you. I just know you as the bounce DJ at this point. And when I found out it was you, I was like, oh yes, I like that you're doing the crossover and stuff like that. So yeah, excellent, mate.
Yeah, it was good. Pretty successful back then, you know. We did good with it.
Do you still get listened on Spotify and stuff like that?
Most of my views, like most of my streams, are from the Club Killer stuff. Still,
I thought it would be.
It's massive. It's still like we get thousands a week still out of it. You know.
I bet you'd still get playlisted quite a lot on like.
Yeah.
I thought it would as well.
The main city what listens to us is Dublin apparently. Yeah, it's still like
interesting. Have you gigged over there?
Never. I might have one over there pretty soon. What?
Right. Watch this space.
I said about that the better.
Yeah. So during your time as a DJ, where you were saying about going all over the UK, is there any sort of places that you've been that might be shocking to people, like outside of the sort of northern of England?
Shocked. I don't know. Like we did I said that with the house music, did Tenerife with Tom's and Etty and all that.
Yeah.
That was a great week.
Yeah.
Recently, I've just done Germany.
Yeah.
Which was unreal, absolutely unreal.
We'll get into that if you don't mind. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about this off pod, but we're just going to sort of regurgitate it because I think it's quite an interesting story. So do you want to start at Restricted Forest, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like I love Restricted Forest. Do it every year.
Yeah. And
I get to play the trance stage, which is amazing because, like I said, back in the day, I did all the trance music. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's good just to really. I feel like for me personally as a DJ, I feel like I'm original Ectic. Do you know what I mean? Playing that. But so playing a trance set, doing my usual thing, and Quicksilver happens to be there.
Yeah.
Like he was on after me, so like I'm just doing my thing, like I said, DJing, and I get a tap on my shoulder.
Yeah.
It's right at the end of my set. I looks at the time, I think to myself, I'm running over time here. Quicksilver's going to be ill with me. Mm-hmm. So I turned round and he's there. I said, would you mind playing one more? So excellent. I'm like, yeah, okay. I turned around thinking, mate, this is a good mix, Chris.
No pressure?
No pressure, big legend stuck behind you.
Yeah. What tune was it you played?
It's a tune called, I just played Ben Nicky's version of Apollo Dance.
Right.
Love that track.
I love it. I love the drop on that. Yeah. It's really. I was saying to you off pod as well about see how the simplicity's come back with the like.
That's what I like about most of it now. You know what I mean? It's not overproduced. Yeah.
I love it.
But yeah, I played that. I just want to play this. It's a bit of a. It's called Heartbeat. I can't remember who it's by.
Right.
But it's a bit of a banger. So I thought, right, better make this mix good. So I was back round to look. I've got Quicksilver videoing me off his phone. Excellent. So I'm like, double no pressure.
Yeah.
So I did a mix, smashed it. Luckily. And then I remember, like, when I did the mix, I heard him go, yeah. So I'm like, I'm buzzing my head off, you know what I mean? It's like childhood, like, hero sort of thing, outside of me. So just, I said, right, I'll get out of your way now, because we were DJing. Said, just sort of hello, that sort of thing. And went off doing my thing. Didn't really think anything had come about of it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then about a week later, he shared the video of me DJing, and he put some, like the gist of the post was like a lot about talking about button pusher DJs and fake, people who like fake DJs sort of thing, saying this guy's real, you know what I mean? Should sort of, follow his example sort of thing. So I'm like, bloody hell, like amazing. And
exposure to a whole new market as well.
So like loads of people saying he needs to come to Germany. So they put another post up saying we're going to make it happen soon. Had a few promoters of festivals interested in me straight away, which was great. Then I've got basically Quicksilver's agency. Right, I ended up speaking to them. Spoke about like signing me. So I was in in awe. Yeah. Like you got your Judge Jules and everyone on there. Like it's a massive agency.
Excellent.
So yeah, like basically got signed to them, which I was really happy about. They got me a booking. Well, before I'd even signed to them, in the same week I got a booking through them. Yeah. To do Outside World in Hanover, Germany. Yeah. So I went over, sorted all that out. Went over there. And yeah, it was beautiful. You know,
How was the experience?
It was crazy. It was kind of really different, like, but it was really good. Like, I felt like the crowd over there really, like I was say, I was playing a trance set, and the place, I was on a big stage. Like, it was a massive white beach and a big lake, you know what I mean? So it looked beautiful. I was doing a sunset as well, so like, for a DJ, like, just playing trance as well, like, oh, this is just, heaven. Yeah. So, it was dead good. I felt like the crowd, they hung on every note you played. Do you know what I mean? There was really it felt more like a concert. There was there for the music, you know? Like, a lot of, don't mean to sound thingy, but a lot of places you do play in England where sometimes, like, with it's heavily on the partying, and sometimes it's a little bit like you might as well be backing track for a party, something, you know what I mean, rather than, you know, in some places, you know, not everywhere. There's been some absolutely amazing crowds out there, but you know, so for a DJ and for like your creative outlet as a DJ, it felt so good, you know, it felt really refreshing as well.
I went to sort of on the subject of this. I went to a techno night in Germany, in Berlin. And it was like a student techno night sort of thing. It was like a Tuesday night, and I had zero experience, or nobody told me what to expect.
Yeah.
I just thought, my own missus just thought, right, we'll go see what it's like. Say we've done it, because all I knew was that they're very, very passionate about their aesthetics and the sound. So they're like a crystal clear sort of sound system, and they like it to look professional. It's not just a rundown club, whatever. So I turned up. Went in there, and I was just surprised of how many sober people there were.
Yeah,
like,
everyone was.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to mention that, but like literally, there was two people. I think I saw two people there who looked like they're off the neck, and frankly, they looked really out of place.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, you know,
I found that. So I was there, and we were sort of stood at the back to begin with. Really, really pro light show lasers. It looked amazing. And you're seeing a lot of deck watchers. Do you know?
Yeah.
And they're just there, and they're sort of bobbing along. They're sober, you can tell. And on the dance floor, there's people dance who they haven't touched a drink, they haven't touched any sort of drugs, and it's like they're just there for it. Obviously, there is people drinking and that there, but it's very much like, I found it very, what's the word? Not intellectual, but it was very, very intellectual.
I agree. It felt more about the art form rather than the partying, you know, which is I was not expecting that one little bit. You know, when I went over there, but it was cool. I enjoyed it.
And I found that as well, these must have been like really techno diehards that were around the sort of side. Every tune that was coming in, they were listening out. You could see the ears lift up, and it's like as if it was like they were listening for a hi-hat that they recognised or something like that. And when it come in, they'd all like conversate between each other. I thought it was really, really interesting, to say the least. I imagine if some of them come over here and went to like, I don't know, like a bounce night, they'd be like, what is going on here? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so sort of moving forward then, we've sort of covered your Maxim's days, and then there is a question. This is for me. I was just want to ask this personally. There is a question about the late end of the Maxim's days that I wanted to ask. When did you find out it was closing, and what was it a shock?
It wasn't a shock. It was. It definitely wasn't a shock, because I felt like it probably stayed open at that point a little longer than it should have done. Yeah. Because it was pretty dire. But it was very, you know, it was frustrating. Yeah. You know, because of like all the good times we've had in Maxim's, like I can't describe, like, you know, that like.
It's like seeing a good boy go off the rails, like a good mate, and it's like there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can try your best to help it, but there's just I know exactly what you mean. I've seen that happen to clubs over the years. Yeah. Not on that scale because it's such a legendary club, but I have seen it happen. So when did you get told it was closing? How long was it before it actually closed?
Oh man.
Or was it just instantaneous?
I think it was pretty much instantaneous. It was one of them, like, we just weren't pulling numbers. I don't think it came to the point where staff weren't getting paid. You know what I mean?
The thing is, because it's such a big venue as well, it probably, to open that on a Friday night, for instance, probably costs a lot. Are you thinking you're staffing DJs, security, everything, even like gas and electric. It's like it's a big loss to make. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially in that time frame. Yeah. So that's I just wanted to ask you that before we moved on. So moving on to the sort of say 2014, 2015 onwards. What was your aim then? Because I've seen you sort of dabbled in sort of everything around that point.
House music still was yeah. By that point, we'd been interviewed by DJ Magazine. That did a big write up on me. So with house music, we're getting millions of plays.
Yeah.
And we were doing the guest mixes for Sunrise constantly. So I was like really into the whole. I feel for me in my career, production wise, is a point where I really got
Peaked.
my head down. Oh yeah, definitely. I listen to my old tracks now from back then, and I still think that's probably some of my best production work.
All right, how we doing? Just want to take a second of your time before we start today's episode, and I want to tell you about our Patreon. Patreon is a tool that we use to financially support this podcast. For as little as £3 a month, you can support us and what we do. It pays towards our travel, our editing time, recording equipment, making things better essentially for the podcast. But in return, we give you at least one bonus episode per month. Early access to the public episodes which you're watching now, so you get these a couple of days early, and also as well I'll be giving away all my tracks on there. So if you subscribe for £3 a month, you might get £10 worth of tracks. Every track that I produce will be going on the Patreon page. So for as little as £3, you can support the cause. You won't even notice it going out your bank. Sign up now at patreon.com/ It's Time to Refresh. That is patreon.com/ It's Time to Refresh. You know you're a fucking belter. Nice one. Sorry about that. That was a little bit of a technical issue there. But we were talking about that.
My phone definitely didn't just ring.
But yeah, so we're sort of talking about the sort of house music and the sort of 2016 era where you think it was at your peak. I was going to ask you, as a producer, I do this quite a lot. Do you ever look back on some of your older stuff and think, fuck me, I was creative then? like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I look at it now. Sometimes, I mean, I've put a lot more effort in recently.
Yeah.
But so if you look back about a year ago, and then at that point, I'm listening to my old, like the Club Killer stuff, my house music, and I've just thought to myself, I am so lazy now.
Yeah.
I hear that back then, I'm thinking, what?
Yeah. It's you think, I done all this music in this short period of time, and it's like, what's stopping me now? But then you realise, you look back on another year, you look back, say, on 2023, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I've done X amount of tracks that year, and you don't realise that it's all condensed down, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But yeah, so moving forward, when did, because I think I met you in, when you were DJing, I can't remember what year this was, 2017, 2018 maybe, where you did New Year's Eve Sanctuary. I don't remember.
Yeah, of course, I remember now, I think it was 2019?
Was it 2019?
Was it? No, it might have been 2018.
2018 then it was, yeah. And I met you that night. You were on the bottom stage, weren't you? If I remember rightly.
I forgot my audio lead, by the way. That day, man, that was a nightmare. But yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed you were sort of like playing the bouncy stuff and that again. So you've always kept your toe in it, haven't you? Sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, bounce. I love bounce music.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I like a lot of sort of music. But I feel like I owe a lot to bounce as well. You know, with Gary Hypnotic, he helped me, give me the platform, and the whole bounce crowds. You know, everyone who's met me and have talked about me because I've been playing bounce music. So for me personally, I love the music, but also, I do love like everything that comes with that. And what that's helped me, like in my career, what that's pushed me towards, and what I've like gained through that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always found as well, say when you look at the likes of, say some of the bigger producers who've, early in their career, they've done bounce music and then they've moved and done other ventures. Yeah. So you're talking like Mike DeScala, Josh Butler as well, he's another one, he used to do the Mr. stuff. I always find that their biggest supporters are the ones who followed them from the bounce
Yeah.
days. It's like you're just dead proud of what they've done and how far they've came along. I know they've gained other fans in
Well, I feel like our scene is not many people do make it to that position as well. So
Yeah.
I think like for me personally, as an artist who comes from bounce music as well, when you do see other artists doing that, you're like, go on lad,
Yeah.
like,
It's like a proud cousin.
Yeah,
almost, sort of.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
I like that. So yeah, 2019 onwards, then we'll sort of say the pandemic came in and stuff like that. How did you deal with that?
To be fair, I started doing a bit of live streaming.
Yeah.
Dip me toe in that, and and that was good fun. Just sort of that give me to be fair. I think by 2009 I've been so I started pro at Maxim's in 2001.
Yeah.
So by 2009 I've been doing a lot of years. So and I've been doing even though sort of bounce scene I dropped off there, like I said, I've been over in other genres. So for me personally, I had a lot of time just off to reflect.
To have a break.
Enjoy. Like it was bad because you were worried. Obviously, will there be a club scene to go back to?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was just get your head together, relax. Just you're probably not gonna have this chance again. Until you quit.
Yeah.
So kind of relaxed, enjoyed it. I think I put together a USB, with a lot of my stuff on. So give me time to do that.
Yeah.
Set up my live stream stuff. Just did some music production, sort of again took that a bit more casually at that point.
I found a lot of producers within the pandemic because they weren't playing to clubs. I've talked to a couple of people about this. Yeah. Do you think that a lot of people got a lot more experimental with what they were doing? I'm talking even on the bigger scale as well with house music, and I think a lot of them. They made what you would call pandemic music. It wasn't made for clubs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's totally right. I mean, like again with the live streaming thing, I will being able to play what I want, what I felt like, and like a lot of that it's different in it because like what working at home, what people that enjoy to listen to in the home is totally different to what very different to what they listen to in the club.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I think maybe in the whole bounce thing, you actually got time to chill out a little bit then, almost. You know what I mean as well.
A lot of the do you know the names? Do you know the ones that you see at all the events? Not the DJs. I'm talking about the raves who go. A lot of the names. It was maybe a time to recharge and get excited about the music again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't because you noticed this yourself. You're continuously doing this. Every weekend, it can sometimes burn you out.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And it same goes for the raves. So, like you see some people who I've always said this. I've said this in podcasts before as well. There's like a 6 monthly cycle where you'll see somebody who hammers it for 6 months, goes to all the raves, and then they'll have a bit of a break because you just burn yourself out. Do you know what I mean? If you're alright every weekend, and it's like. So it was a good time to everyone get excited again. I remember seeing all the raves when we come back. I think I played the first time coming back. I think there was the Let's Have It. There was a Sopranos. I think the second weekend in, there was a lot of people missed the aspect of hearing bounce music in a club.
My first event back after what was like 18 months to 2 years out. Yeah. My first event back was Victoria Warehouse.
Excellent.
I was like, I've never played there before. I always wanted to play there, and so like that was great.
What were you playing?
It was bounce.
Was it bounce?
Yeah, it was Maxim's.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
And I got COVID.
So you didn't do it?
No, I did it.
Oh, you did it, yeah.
I got COVID straight after it.
Oh, right, okay.
I'd avoided COVID all the way through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Went out for a gig. COVID. Great, Chris.
Fantastic. But I mean, was the gig worth it?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
Class. So it's like little iconic gigs like that, like the bounce scene. It can go a long time. In my opinion, I've found that it can go a long time. There'll be like the club does the thing that keeps you going, like the regular circuit, and every so often there'll just be like a mega rave of like a Victoria Warehouse, a big bowlers event, or something where like a big festival, and it's just like we could go somewhere with this. It never goes anywhere, but there's potential to go somewhere with this, and then nothing ever comes of it. But
there is some amazing ones. I do deep down. I'd love to say. Like, I think bounce could be a lot more than it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the music, like the events. I mean, you got the BTID lads again. You got to give them props.
Yeah.
Like they put on some amazing.
Different scale, isn't it?
Like the production value, everything. They do some really good stuff. And like the Maxims, they put on some like the Victoria Warehouse. They did the bowlers and filled that out and all those and like I feel. I don't know. I feel like if you had to work together a bit more, there could be some just insane stuff because we've got a big enough fan base. So I think the balance. I mean, we've got probably the smallest fan base out of a lot of electronic dance music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've got enough people what could fill. Some, you know what I mean? It's sort of amazing, and doing stuff like that for me personally, I think would help progress the scene. You know
I think what it is we've got a smaller scale following, but at the same time, those small scale following, they're very passionate about.
Oh, they're probably the most dedicated followers.
So that's why you could get a big something like on that scale, whereas other scenes, I don't want to name other scenes off, but like say other scenes that they've got a bigger natural following. Spread out, and it's like if you look at trance, you can go like it's massive into Thailand or it's massive in Egypt. It's massive like there is all this, but none of them are dedicated enough to go to this one big thing. Whereas I know it's only big in sort of the UK. Really, I know there's little offshoots of bouncers, but if you put on a bit like an event where it's like this is what bounce is about, as I say here on the Pier, places like that. Everyone just flocks to it because of the dedicated followers. Yeah. So how's sort of been sort of post COVID for you then? What have you been up to?
So I've done. I'd say post COVID, I've done less gigs. I've been way choosier about my events. Yeah. But I've done probably some of the best gigs I've ever done in my life since then. Right. It's been pretty strange. Like there's been a lot of the events what I've done have been real. They've been on a larger scale. Yeah. And just way more. I don't know. Just memorable, really. I don't know.
So what have you been doing?
Well, like I said, the restricted forest. That'd be good fun. There's got to be like there was the Stu Allen event what we did. Yeah. Which was just like that was something else. Yeah. That was really really special. Like 7,000. And in the main arena.
Fantastic.
That was nuts. Just I'm trying to think what else. I said the Germany thing. That's been pretty. That was amazing. So.
See, me personally, if I'd rather have 4 to 6 big gigs a year like that on that scale than going out every weekend and playing to say 100 people. Like it's not as it doesn't weigh you down as much.
Yeah, that's it. And I love the little. I do love playing the little venues. It is more. I just get behind a set of decks. You're close to a crowd. It's more intimate. You can just really have it and enjoy yourself. Yeah. I do love that. But like you say, if you're doing that week in, week out, it can burn you down, and then it becomes I feel your sets become more of a conveyor belt rather than of tunes, because you start playing the same tunes. I don't want to play that tune again, even though you love that tune yourself. Yeah. You've just played it for the last 5 weeks running. Yeah. And you're like, well, what's the same people going to start feeding? You know what I mean? Yeah. That all goes through your head, and so you want to. You want
to be excited about what you're playing.
So you start playing a lot of for me personally, I start playing a lot of the newer stuff, and I'm really fussy about that anyway, which ones I play. So like I say, it becomes a conveyor belt sort of situation rather than enjoying the event and enjoying the crowd and
I get what you're meaning. So we'll just sort of tie this part one up for now. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Back for part 2 of the podcast. This is the questions section. So we're going to go through some of your questions that you've wrote in. Chris hasn't actually listened to any of them yet, so
this is new to me.
But yeah, if you've got any questions, just give us a message on Instagram at itstimetoriffresh, and that's how you get your questions through to us. Or if you're watching on Patreon, you can drop it on the Patreon question section. So yeah, basically this is just off people who watch the podcast who engage with the page. So first one is, hi pal, nice and simple yet not easy. What is your favourite crisp? And that's from Jamie Fell.
Cheese and onion square crisp.
Yeah. You didn't have to really think about that, did you? I've had time to think about this and I still can't think of what it is yet.
I know what snacks.
I don't eat crisps anymore. I used to. I'm trying to diet. I'm on day 5 of a no carb diet and it's killing me. I've just come down in a proper bad mood. So yeah, my favourite crisp, without getting too into it and excited. So many. I always liked Knickknacks.
Oh man, yeah.
Knickknacks were really good.
Done wheat crunchies as well.
Wheat crunchies, like the bacon ones. Or bacon / barbecue flavour. Amazing. I appreciate a good quaver and skip as well. You see some of these awful shouts that people say discos are good. Discos aren't good. Too hard.
No.
Too hard. I'm just trying to think of like what Monster Munch are good.
They're mix. If you the bags where you have the mix with like Monster Munch and Doritos and all that sort of thing in it. No. Spicy mix. Have you never seen them?
That would get me excited.
Well, you can't try it. I've had some change in my answer.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of ones that I don't rate more than anything. I love a good crisp. I'll tell you what's absolutely awful, and I'm glad they died out when they did, because these are like bottom tier. They didn't even deserve a crisp. Was a Salt and Shake. You have the little blue packet in and you put it in. Someone was saying to me the other day, I haven't had them in a while. I'm like, good, because they're fucking shit. It's like, it's horrible. So there's your answer, Jamie. My favourite crisp would have to be Thai Sensations. Do you know the
sweet chili.
They're nice as well.
Bad boy,
there's so many coming to my head now. There's a Pringle as well. I like a Pringle, barbecue Pringle. I think that's their quality. So next question. Hello again, Brad. What's your thoughts on the constant recycling of 90s dance and clubland tracks in bounce and hardcore? And that's from dedicated watcher Andy Matz. I'm not going to get into this too much again. I'll put my thought forward. I've also like originality, but that's not the question. He's asking me what I think about it. As a producer, I'll sort of change it for you. As a producer, do you find it's easier to get traction when you remix a classic, isn't it?
Yeah,
engagement?
Without a doubt, you get way more engagement if you do a remix. Sadly, although people always say they want originality, when you give it, they tend to go, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
A lot of times, they just got to. People have got to hear it a lot of times before they go, like, "Oh yeah, I like that" sort of thing.
Yeah.
It tends to be. So it's easier to remix the old stuff. I mean, people say about it doing they're doing it a lot now. But if you look in the 90s hardcore, early 2000 hardcore, they were remixing all the 80s stuff. You know what I mean, back then. So music's it's a constant cycle anyway.
It is, yeah. And you mentioned the Clubland thing there. Clubland ripped off a lot of 80s stuff.
My biggest track was a remix of The Buzz Let Me Love You Tonight, which was on Clubland as well. So again, traction that got me pretty far.
If that was an original, nothing against you, it probably wouldn't have done half as good. Do you know what I mean? But then again, I prefer your version to the original. To be honest, because it's just got that more me edge to it, you know what I mean? Yeah. I've actually remixed that tune as well. About 4 times. But yeah.
I need the acapella again, I've lost mine.
But 2023 version, mate, why not? Give it a go.
Collaboration.
Absolutely, more than up for it. But yeah, my thoughts on recycling. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just a bit frustrating at times. As a producer, I'm here trying to push out originality. And it gets the diehards engaged, but nobody's interested on a grander scale.
It feels like the easy way out, especially like, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people just like, if you're inventively remixing an old track, something from a couple of decades ago, I'm going to give you props. If you're literally sampling every latest pop tune, AI ripping the acapella, you know what I mean, and you're just throwing it out for throwing it out's content's sake. I'm like, well, anyone could do that, really.
Gets to the straight away.
That's it. And again, you're not creating a classic there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, that's my opinion on that.
I'll tell you something off pod, by the way. I can't tell you now because if I tell you, it's going to get ripped off, and it's quite a good little idea. So you might hear something in the future. But anyways, I've got this remix in a classic. I'll tell you the name of it off the pod, obviously, and I've just took something out the verse and sort of been creative with it, and that's become the hook line in it. And listening to it, it's one of them things like, that sounds familiar. but it's not obvious what it is. And hopefully it can work for me. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. I know for a fact if I say it, somebody's going to go and do it before
Don't
me.
say it. Don't say it.
Yeah. But it's one of them, and I've seen a couple of people do it, and I think it's, when done right, it's really, really good, and it's really effective. My thoughts on it are, it's not going to stop. You can't do anything to stop it. And if you do fancy a quick little buzz of engagement that gets a trickle down onto your originals, why not do it? That's why I do it, to be fair.
Yeah, fair dues.
So next question is, where is the weirdest place that you've had a gig? And that's from Ali Morgan. I know why Ali's asked this question, to be honest with you.
Do you want to go first, or is that for me?
Well, you go, mate.
Okay, weirdest place. Well, see, for me, it's kind of different. Like, obviously, I can't reach every set of decks.
Yeah.
So rather than weirdest place, I could tell you the weirdest objects I've put my wheelchair on. It's a DJ. Go on, the drum and bass kit was mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Got behind the decks, couldn't reach it at all.
Yeah.
So we they put some beer crates down behind the decks.
Right.
Obviously, I have holes in, and I'm like, I can't move on that. So they ripped the fire door off, put me on that. So I jumped on that, feeling very unstable anyway, yeah?
That's fantastic.
But I'm not finished yet. So I'm DJing, right? I was like, beginning of my set, I dropped a banger. Some guy comes running around to sort of go, yo, this is a banger, yeah? You know what I mean? Steps on the side of the door. I started raising up in the air. Obviously, it's heavier than me. I'm like, so man, I've got from the decks right near my chin, so down near my ankles. I'm up in the air. I'm like, I'm gonna die here, bro. You know what I mean?
You didn't fall.
No, my brother, like, pulled the guy, like, rugby tackles the guy off the thing. I drops down. It's time to flick the track over, right? Flicks the track over on CrossFit. Next tune drops in. Everyone goes wild. I'm sat there, hard pounding behind the next, like.
That is absolutely terrifying, man. That is terrifying.
Yeah, so there you go.
Oh. that technically is the weirdest place. I've never DJ'd on a fire door, so you know.
In the middle.
Ali asked it because I think it's her mate, or she went to the event at least. A few years ago, I used to get booked for a thing called Masquerade at the Castle. It was I think it's an abandoned castle, or they hire it out or something. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's proper cold. But what an experience. I'll jump into it quickly and then we'll move on to the next question. Basically, it's a bunch of random Scottish people, and they're all from different backgrounds and that, and it's weird, right? I had a mate come with me, Lewis, and he can back this up as well. We went in, I think it was the year Lewis came, because I did it for I think 4 or 5 years in a row. And I think it was my very first experience of it was, I walked in and it was the main room, and it was loads of people purely twisted in this main room, and they'd had no one will be able to see this, but see like the sofa, the pillow. So they had just loads of them, must have brought them with them, and they were all laid out in the main room. I'm talking, I don't know, maybe 80 people.
Wow,
right? And they're all sitting on these things, absolutely wide out their minds, watching this one girl up, and she's playing a harp, really quiet. And I'm thinking, this is weird shit.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, that, man.
And I'm like, if I walked into the right place here, because you could hear booming music, but like you couldn't hear it in that room. It was really quiet, and you could hear like whispers, and it was intense. I was like, this is strange. So then I like walked to like the right hand side into this like next room, which was a bit of a smaller room, and like down some steps and in, and then it was jungle and sort of drum and bass. It was really early jungle stuff, I remember, because it was some of the stuff I prefer, to be honest with you. And I've got talking to one DJ. I said, am I in the right place? Yeah, this is the Masquerade. But they're all, by the way, everyone's in fancy dress costumes. I forgot to point this out. It plays an important part. My mate's like, what the fuck have we come to? Anyways, so we're there, and we're just walking around, and we're just like, we weren't talking to each other. We just kept looking at each other like, just like, what the fuck is going on? Because there was in the jungle bit, everyone was proper just floaty. There was no one up for it. They're all just floaty. Whoa. This is the first. This was on a Friday night. It was a weekender type thing, and everyone. It was a good vibe. Don't get me wrong. I was writing. I'm like, I like this, but it was just adjusting to it was strange.
Yeah.
And anyways, I thought, I'm here. I've turned up to play hardcore, by the way. And I thought, hardcore's not going to go down well here.
Yeah.
And then as I've walked around, there's like little signs, homemade signs that they've made and put up with like blue tack, and it's like all there was like dorms and that where people were staying. I think you could like book a room there and you all crash there. It was really, really like DIY festival, but it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I went downstairs into the dungeon, they called it, and I was playing there. I went in and someone was playing like hard style at 170, and I was like, oh yes, this is good. But honestly, in there, it was like as if two different crowds completely.
Yeah.
It was like proper booming, loving it.
Yeah.
And I walked in and it was such a picturesque moment. I'll show you a photo off pod. I'll see if I can drop it in here as well. I walked in, the DJ box in the corner, really function one setup it was.
Yeah.
Sound system, lights, it was amazing, like little rave cave. But just to the right hand side, there was like a little people chilling out to 170 hard style and with a coal fire burning, and they're all just chilling there, proper chill out, and then everywhere else like pure rave. Weird. That is the weirdest experience of my life.
Yeah.
I turned up and I thought, because the guy that was on before me, he was playing like some quite obscure stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna drop a tune here and everywhere's gonna empty. And I started with an edit of Discoland, mega cheesy. Bear in mind it was like really thing, and I just thought, I'm just gonna go completely the other way to see if I clear the dance floor, I can change it up. I just want to see how far I can push it to bring it back in. And I dropped it. Everyone went mental for it, right? But it was because I think they'd been deprived of it in the last set, because it was just constant hard. So I was like, yes, this can work, this can work. And then I played after that. I mixed it into do you know Joey Riot and Kutski MDMA that tune? It's got the what's the riff called? Is it In My Dreams? DJ Panda.
I think so.
Is it called In My Dreams? Is it or something?
I can't remember. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think so.
DJ Panda in It's a Dream. Sorry, It's a Dream. Mine went blank then. So they sampled that, and in it, it's they've cut out the Joe Rogan thing where it's all these guys are just going to a rave and it's all MDMA, and it's sat sampling, and they're like proper coming up at this point. I must have just caught them at the right time, and it's really hard tune. When it drops in, and then when It's a Dream riff comes in, they went mental, and I thought, right, this is a very good crowd to play to here, and I love it. And I played loads of like quite experimental stuff throughout. Some of it worked, some of it didn't.
Yeah, I get you.
But as it goes for weird, right? I came out, and there was this guy, and he had he was only about 18, 19 years old, big, massive, like, porn star moustache, and he come up to me, mate, great set. My mate, Lewis, is a bouncer at a strip club, sorry, and he turned to Lewis and goes, I know you! Whoa, what's going on here? He goes, you're from the strip club, aren't you? And he's like, oh my god. He's like, Lewis said to me, I had to kick him out. And he's like, but he didn't go, he wasn't subtle. He was off his head. He wasn't subtle with it. He went, it wasn't like, I know you're from the strip club. Yeah, he was like, strip club! And he's like, yeah, well, that's fine. Because obviously, he's not that he's embarrassed about it, but it's like, someone's shouting strip club at you. You give off a good vibe, eh? But yeah, that's my weirdest place. So nice one for that, Ali. Probably made a good story for the podcast, to be fair. Last question for today. Here, does DJing gigs and the industry affect your personal life, and if so, why? And that's from Sarah Jane. Do you find that you have to work around?
It's
work around it.
It's weekends, isn't it?
Yeah.
It depends which way you look at it. It affects it positively as well, because half the people I know and love, like some
your
really
friends,
cool people in my life, I've met through DJing and music. I wouldn't know them people. I'd say, it affects your personal life, but you can just, it doesn't work in a night shift. Do you know what I mean? And then the other thing, so you just make sure it doesn't negatively affect your life, you know what I mean? And I think I've met some amazing people for it, so. it does affect it in a good way.
I'm not sure what you meant by the question, Sarah, but one thing I have noticed as a DJ is sometimes, especially if you're quite an active DJ, I've found if I've took a gig for somewhere, for instance, and it's been well in advance, and I've put it in the calendar. My missus is sound, by the way; she's all right with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a friend or a family member has gone, there's a birthday party, or there's a wedding, or there's a christening, and it's like, but the flyer's already released, your name's on it, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And I've turned up for like an hour, and then I have to drive to the gig, and it's like, you feel kind of shit. I think that's, if you're getting at that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, to be fair though, I mean, there's ways around in it. You don't, just because you got a gig, you don't have to spend the whole night there, do you? So as long as it's not too far away, it's like you're bolting over there, doing your set, getting off. It's not,
As I say, that's the only way really it's affected me. So
I get
other than that, I think as long as people, if people meet you, I've been a DJ my whole adult life. And so people who do meet you, like you say, they come with that expectation already that you're not. So like I've got like me personally, I've got two friends who've got no interest in music. They're my two best friends. They don't come to my gigs. They have been before, but they don't come to my gigs, and they understand that if they want to plan something with me, they'll let me know in advance, and I'm so grateful for that. But there's a lot of the time you can't do anything on the fly.
So
it's like, oh, do you fancy coming over on Saturday, or do you fancy doing something Saturday? And it's like, sorry.
Yeah, I must admit, there's been a good few times where mates want to do something. I'm like, I'm looking, and that's a bit shit, you know what I mean? Like, because I do have, like friends away from music as well, so that can be a bit,
Yeah, I think that's what she's maybe getting at. Or if you mean personal relationships with people or like that, I think most people are understanding, aren't you? That if they know what their gig is, like my missus knows what I do, and she knows what it is. My mum and stuff like that. There has been times when I haven't been able to go and do certain things, but it is what it is, isn't it? It's part and parcel.
Also, it's a good excuse to get out of things as well.
I was going to say, but I've done that before as well. It's like, but we've got this on, and it's like, that sounds so amazing.
But
I'm DJing. Where are you DJing at? I'm DJing somewhere.
I'll just rustle up a flyer.
No, I know exactly what you mean. So that's the last question for today, mate. We're going to move on to the flopper bop section. Got you quite excited when I told you about this one, I think, didn't I? So it's a recently new feature. We started 3 or 4 weeks ago. Basically, it's just you tell me. I'm going to rhyme off some tracks, and you tell me if you think it's a flop or bop. And if I'm shocked, I'll ask why.
Is this where I look like a really rubbish DJ and not know some of the tunes?
No, I'll be honest with you, mate. Right, I've just put this out to the general public. So there's nothing really obscure as such. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, you've got your general listeners. I don't know. They know the hits. Do you know what I mean? So we'll do flop or bop with DJ Ectic, and this is it. Jesse, look at me now.
Bop.
Bop, pal. I'm glad you agree. It's a massive tune. Rank 1 Airwave, but with the True Love Never Dies a cappella over the top.
See, that's the bop because it has so many memories for me.
Memories, yeah.
Oh, God damn, yeah.
It's a Maxim's tune, that as well, isn't it? That was
I think I was that the first DJ I played there? I got it on white label. I think I was the first DJ I played that in Maxim's.
Yeah. By the way, this isn't intentional. This is just random. I'm just going off this, so it's kind of worked out all right. London Fiesta, can you feel it?
You're gonna kill me. Flop. I don't like it.
I know a lot of people don't.
It just drags on.
I'm gonna have to say a flop on that as well. I do play it, but I have to mix it out really early. That's I think for me personally. Oasis, Don't Look Back in Anger.
Flop.
Oh man, it's a bop for me.
I'm sorry, mate.
It's just not a fan.
It's alright. It's not. Yeah.
Do you like Oasis?
Some of the stuff's okay.
I think it is an overplayed tune, and it can get on people's nerves, but it's just iconic, I think.
Yeah, I get you.
And last one, Cyan Demo, Devotion.
Bop.
Absolute bop.
Bob, what a track!
By the way, I'm just going to put it out there. Someone suggested that on the thread on the group, and I'm going to put it out there. I think that's the greatest ever hardcore tune.
I would, yeah, I totally agree. Especially the remix with the rap at the beginning as well.
Yeah.
Amazing track. I used to love that.
There's something that I hold a lot of memories with tunes, and this one just when I hear it, doesn't even remind me of back in the day. It reminds me of somewhat recent. I went away to Unity in the Sun. You know that event. I was there, and I remember that I was getting a bit tired because obviously you're on like day 3 or day 4 of it, and you're just like, have a breather, have a breather. I remember sitting down on the boat party and just being like, "Ooh, I've had a bit to drink. Let's do this, right?" And then who mixed it in now? It could have been would have been Billy Bunter, I think.
Yeah, probably.
He mixed it in, and just when that rap came in, I just got up, and it was if I'd had, like, I've never done drugs, by the way, so, but as if I'd just had a million pills, and it's just all come up at once, and big hands in the air moment. I remember the sun was setting on the sea, and it was just that it was just the stars aligned for it, and for me, that is an absolute bop.
Without a doubt.
Great tune. You're a big fan of hardcore in that, aren't you? As well?
Yeah, damn right.
So what would you say personally is the biggest
biggest
hardcore tune in your for you?
Jesus, that's a difficult one. If you could talk about old ones like that, do you remember Keep On Trying?
Yeah.
I used to love that tune as well. Like, it's a similar sort of setup on the track, with the rap.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. That what is it? Who did it now? Higher Love.
Yeah.
Who did Higher Love? I can't remember.
I can remember
the blue vinyl, the little like Superman JDS Higher Love.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, I was like it's all my old hardcore.
Class, mate, class. Right, so that's the flopper bop section for today. There's nothing that I really disagree with other than the Oasis one, really. Because Look At Me Now is a banger, right? And I don't think there's many that dislike it, but I thought it's worth a shout in when it got suggested. So yeah, for pretty much, I like your tasty music, basically. I like what we've heard there. So before we sort of tie today up, mate, I asked everyone this. You're about to get the electric chair because you've been a right wrong'un, and you've been offered your last meal. You'll have a starter, main, dessert, and a beverage. What are you having?
Oh my god. That's a difficult one. Starter. Don't really do starters. Mate, you've got me there,
It doesn't need to be. It's your last meal. You do what you want. I'll tell you something.
Well,
you can put another main in there if you want.
Yeah, it's my last meal, of course.
Yeah.
I like a lot of Mexican type food as well. So probably, I don't know, go for some Mexican stuff. I don't know, like not tacos. Enchiladas. I'd have some like decent enchiladas.
Yeah. Have you got anywhere you go specifically for it, or your own made ones, or what would
some sick chef to make it or something? Proper.
Is there nowhere that sticks out that have done it for you? Even locally, or
there was a place in Wigan actually what went not long ago, just before I did an event at Pier.
Yeah.
Like, tasty as hell. Can't remember the name of the place.
Nice.
Not bugging you, sorry mate.
So what you do for your main?
From the main, well, I said probably do from the stars. I'd have some stuff. Definitely some halloumi fries, that type of thing. Yeah. Got to have them bad boys in. Nice sauce with it.
Lovely.
Main would be enchiladas. Yeah, some nice rice. You know what I mean?
Nice. I'm into this.
Yeah, a couple onion rings on side just to make something like that. Yeah.
And what about your dessert?
Dessert. I have something like that'd be difficult. Profiterole rolls, man. I love profiterole rolls. Profiterole rolls, chocolate sauce on top, some nice clay cream ice cream underneath, maybe. Yeah.
Nice.
So make it mix up. Yeah, that sounds good.
What about your beverage? Doesn't need to be alcoholic, by the way. It can be anything at all.
It's my last meal. It does need to be alcoholic. No.
The amount of people who've said a pint of vodka is unreal.
Pint of vodka.
Yeah, just because your last one. Yeah. Go on, what you going for?
I'll go for I don't know. It'd either be a pint of San Miguel because I love that stuff, or I might go for like a gin and lemonade type thing because that's tasty.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's not a bad answer, that.
Yeah.
I'm quite hungry now.
I'm starving.
Yeah. No. I was just gonna say I've been doing a no carbs diet for the last 5 days. It's been really, really hard. But do you know what I've been craving the most? Mexican of anything.
Yeah.
Is my missus had Italian the other night. I like my Italian food, but she had Mexican, and I was just like, she had Italian, and I was like, I could eat that, but I really fancy Mexican right now, like big taco rice and amazing. So yeah, before we tie today up, mate, do you want to tell us what you're up to over the next few months? I've got gigs. Where can people find you?
I'm DJing. I think I'm doing 9th of April.
Yep.
I'm playing at. I can't remember the event. Can't remember where we're playing. It is for Maxim's, Back by Dr. Demand, and Monroe's.
Yep.
Love to say it venue, but I can't remember. 9th of April.
I'm sorry about that. But
Sorry about that. It's definitely our venue, though, I know that. Yeah. And then I'm back over in Germany in May, which I'm really excited about.
Fantastic.
So yeah, and I've got something else in Germany what I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
Good.
Excellent.
I'll tell you off pod.
And also, where can people find you? What's the best place to find your content?
My content, probably SoundCloud. So that's DJ Ectic, and I think it's /Club Killers as well.
Yep.
And my Facebook page, which is /ectic.uk.
Excellent, mate. Just want to say thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate you. Hope you have enjoyed it. It's been an absolute belter episode.
Thank you, man.
No problem. I'll see you later.